Excel is one of the most important skills for you to master as an Amazon PPC manager if you want to get the best possible performance out of your campaigns. In this video, I'm going to be showing you my top 7 Excel functions that are most relevant for Amazon PPC and will help you do better reporting, more deeply analyze your campaigns, and hopefully grow your sales. So let's get into it. Number 1 is pivot tables. I use these on a daily basis managing Amazon ads. And their main benefit is that they give you the ability to aggregate and group your data. Simple as that. Pivot tables are super customizable. They give you the ability to cut your data into really digestible and tangible views. And I'm going to be showing you some real life examples. So let's jump into the computer real quick and get started. Okay, so now we're over here in this Excel spreadsheet. We got a lot of data here. I got all of this data from Seller Central. And the way I got it was by going to Seller Central, go to Business Reports, and I went and pulled Child ASIN level reporting, total sales reporting. So from there, I went through, set my date ranges for each month, and I went through and picked out and pulled the data for every single month for last year and so far this year to date. So went through, downloaded those Excel files, pasted them over into this doc, and I put them one under the other. So you can see each one of these is a separate month. And I've added a couple rows here, or a couple columns here that were not in the original data sheets. And that is so that we can group that data like we talked about with pivot tables. We're going to be grouping by a certain identifier, and that identifier that we're going to be grouping by for this is months. So we want to look at the monthly total sales for the account on a month-by-month basis, and we want to compare this year to last year. So we pulled each month for last year and each month for this year. We put it all into one spreadsheet. As we were copy-pasting that data in, we added these identifiers to signify the month as well as the year, because we want to be able to delineate between January of last year and January of this year, and therefore we had to add those columns. So once we have that, we can go ahead and create our pivot table. And what we're going to need to do is select the data that we want to pivot out and group up. So we can just select this whole sheet. So select all, and we're going to go up to Insert, and we'll click Pivot Table. Once it asks you this, you're just going to hit OK. You can add it to an existing worksheet if you want to, like put it in a specific location. You can do that. But for us, we're just going to add it to a new worksheet. We can title it Pivot, and it's created a pivot table for us. It opened up this sidebar menu here, and now we can start to create this. Now, like I told you before, pivot tables are extremely customizable, but for us, what we're going to be looking at is sales on a month-by-month basis. So we're going to plug the month field into the rows. We can do this a couple different ways, but this is just the way we're going to do it. And then we're going to put our year as the column. And then the main thing that we want to look at is total sales. So we'll add ordered product sales to our values section of the pivot table. Now we have some things in here that maybe we don't necessarily want, like this blanks row. Do we necessarily need to see a grand total? Maybe not for this example. So we can go ahead and eliminate the blanks from there. And to remove this grand total row, we'll just come over to it, right click, and hit remove grand total. Now we have our monthly total sales for 2023 and 2024 for all the months of the year that we have so far. Now, these are not formatted correctly. You can come under here into field settings, go into number, and you're going to hit currency. This is going to format everything in a nice dollar currency for you. Other than that, you can come into pivot tables and continue to customize these. If you wanted to switch out your ordered revenue for, let's say, sessions, and you wanted to see that, you could add it to the table and see them side by side. So for both 2023 and 2024, you could look at those. Or if you need to remove a field, you can right click it and remove. And now you're looking at the sessions by month each year. So a couple different customization things you can do there. The final thing I'll say on pivot tables is if you want to do a custom field or a calculated field, let's say you want to look at the conversion rates by month year over year, you wouldn't necessarily want to just come down here and click unit session percentage, which is your unit conversion rate within the Amazon reporting system. If you just click this, this is going to give you an average of the conversion rates for all of the products that are grouped up inside of your account. What you would want to do instead is create a custom field. And how you're going to do that is come up to Pivot Table Analyze. You're going to come over to Field Items and Sets, and you're going to create a calculated field. Now we can call this Unit Item Session Percentage, and then we enter the formula for that. So we're going to do units ordered divided by total sessions. So we get our unit session percentage. And then let's remove that total sales field. Another way we can do it is simply coming here and formatting it that way. And there we have it. Now we have our calculated conversion rates year over year. So we can see how conversion rates are potentially increasing year over year. These have been increasing so far year over year. This is looking good. So we're just getting started on our analysis. Let's dive into number 2. So now that you know how to tag and group all of your data in a lot of customizable ways, you know how to create custom formulas within pivot tables, let's jump over and do something a little bit different with number 2, which is VLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP function is the best way to cross-reference different data sources or different spreadsheets that you have and merge them together or merge different parts of them together. You always need a unique and common identifier that's the same between both of the spreadsheets. And in that case for us, it's going to be ASIN. This is a pretty common one for Amazon. A lot of times you're looking for data based on a specific product. You can use the ASIN as the common link between different spreadsheets to pull data from different spreadsheets into another. For our example, we're going to use VLOOKUP to pull the category names of each product from a categorization sheet that I have created into our total sales document that we've been working in. So that way we can pivot out the data and see our performance or our total sales by product category. So let's jump back into the spreadsheet now. Okay, so now we're back over in our spreadsheet here. We're gonna switch over to the data tab here. And we're gonna be adding a separate tag to each one of these rows to identify which product category each of these ASINs is in. And in order to do that in a very quick and efficient manner, we're going to use VLOOKUPs. Now, to do this, I have prepared a categories sheet where I've classified every single ASIN with its product name and product category. Now, these are just made up, but on your own spreadsheet, it could look a lot different, and you just categorize each ASIN with its product category. Now, to do the VLOOKUP, we're going to come to this cell where our product category is, enter equals, and we're going to type VLOOKUP and open parentheses. Now, with VLOOKUP, like I said, you have to have a common identifier between both sheets that you're going to be referencing. So in this case, it's ASIN because we have an ASIN here. So we're going to select that. We'll do a comma. And then we're matching that to the ASIN that's on this categories page. We're going to highlight from here to the cell or to the column that we want to pull in. So it's basically saying, looking at the cell that we selected here, C2 in the data sheet, which was the ASIN, and it's saying wherever that lives in this spreadsheet, this category spreadsheet, I want you to pull this third column associated with that ASIN. So it's going to pull this column right here. Now, what we got to do to make that happen is we add a comma after that. We have to tell it how many columns to count over from that initial selection or that pairing identifier to let it know which column to actually pull in. So if we wanted to pull in the product name, we would put a 2 here since it's 1, 2 away from this initial column. But in our case, we want to do a 3 because it's 3 columns down. And then you can do either true or false. You can see here. True is going to be an approximate match, or false is going to be an exact match. So you can also do a 1 or a 0. So 1 for true or 0 for false. And we want it to be an exact match. So we're going to say 0. So we'll hit enter. Boom. Pulled in that product category right away. And now we can extend this all the way down, and we've effectively categorized every single row of this data sheet. So next, we can come back over to our pivot table. And since we added a new column to it, we're gonna wanna come up here to Pivot Table Analyze and hit refresh. Once we've refreshed it, you can see that this product category column that we pulled in is now in the fields list. So what we're gonna do is, instead of trying to pull this into the pivot table and make it look all nice, I'm gonna show you a little hack that I like to use in this situation, which are slicers. So a little extra tip here. So insert a slicer, and we're gonna select product category for our slicer, and we'll hit OK. So now we have this list of all the product categories that we have in our list from this page here, over here. And whenever we click one of these, it's going to automatically shift all your data and group all your data by the product category that you've selected. So if I want to look at product category 2 or 4 or 9 and see how they compare, I can do that with a slicer. This is a really nice way if you are wanting to filter and sort through different things. This is a really great tool for doing so. Now, there are certainly other ways that we could do this. We could come back into our pivot table. We could add product category as part of our drop-down list here, and we can clear that filter there. And we could get a different look. And this isn't as clean of a look in my opinion, but if you wanted it to look like this and you wanted to go through product by product and see some of the year-over-year sales, you could do it that way. There's a lot of different ways you could cut and slice and dice this. We can remove those fields there. We could remove the year column. We could do a month column as the filter there. And then now we have it's a different orientation of the monthly sales. So we could look at it a slightly different way here. Then we could potentially add a year filter. And if we wanted to just see 2023 or 2024 sales for month to date, each month, month to month, we could do so like that. Okay, so this is great. We can now see our total sales by month for each individual product category. We know how to sift it out and break it out and group it however we want. But wouldn't this be a lot better if we had a visual to go along with it? Let's dive into number 3, which is charts. So let's say we wanted to create a line graph that shows the year over year, month by month sales trends. What we would need to do is we're going to come in here, select our pivot table, we're going to insert line chart. Now we've created the line chart. We can make this a little bit bigger. And now we can start to make this look better, look a little bit prettier, and make some changes to it. So we'll come into the design tab and we'll add some different chart elements. We'll add some axis titles. We'll add a chart title above the chart. We'll move the legend to the top. We'll make that bold, bold. Call this total sales. And again, you could customize this however you want. It's just personal preference. I always like to make them look nice, easily legible. And there you have it. We've created our chart. We've made some new titles, new axis titles, year over year sales trend. We'll call it that. Now let's say we want to make this a little bit thicker. So we can come in here, format data series. Let's make that 3.25. Same here. There you go. So now we have a year over year sales trend, and we can see that 2024 is looking a lot better than 2023, seeing some good growth. And this just provides a nice visual aid for us so that we can do better reporting. We can show and see the actual trend of the account. Now, whenever we select these, as we go through different product categories, the chart is going to update with the data that's in the chart. So for every single one of these product categories, you could go through and see which products are trending well, which ones are trending down, which ones are trending up. All that type of stuff is going to be a lot easier to interpret whenever you have a visual aid like this to work. So boom, now we have a filterable chart where we can see our total sales, our individual product category sales year over year, and see how they're trending. This is looking great. But there is another way that we could have used a visual aid in order to be able to quickly spot and identify the trends within our total sales. And that's with number 4, conditional formatting. Conditional formatting essentially allows you to format and color code cells based on certain criteria. If certain criteria are met, then it'll shade it a certain color or apply a certain format to that cell. And this is really effective for visual aids and quickly spotting trends. So one example we could do is we can highlight our total sales for 2023, and then we can add a color scale. So in this sense, we'll add one where if the values are high, we want it to be green, and if they're low, we want them to be red. So we'll do that, and we can spot the peaks and the troughs of our sales each month last year. So we can see that March was a great month and August was a great month, and we can start to spot the trends in our sales. If we wanted to do an entire view of this, we could do a selection like this and see that, yeah, sales this year are outperforming everything we did last year, looking really good. Just one way to do it. We could revert that, come back here, separate and highlight this differently, and we can see, okay, this year, our 2 best sales months of the year are March and April. So conditional formatting is really great for just providing these visual aids and visual cues. If you wanted to do something a little bit different, I can show you another version of this where let's say we wanted to look at 2023 total sales year to date versus 2024 sales total year to date. So we'll do a formula equal to sum of this selection right here. So we'll look at the first 4 months of the year for that, and then sum of this, and we'll also look at the first 4 months, but of this year. So now we have a total sales year to date comparison, and let's say we want to look at the percent change, the percent difference between these year over year. So we'd come into the next cell, we'll hit equals, select that first cell, divided by the 2023 sales, subtract 1, and we're left with a percentage. We can see that sales are up 39.1% year over year. But wouldn't this look a lot better if it was highlighted in green and drew a lot of attention to it so we could show the client how sales are growing and rapidly expanding? We could use conditional formatting for that. Come in here, we're going to highlight cell based on a rule, and we'll say if it's greater than 0, so greater than 0%, we'll highlight it green. We could also add a filter to say if it's less than 0, so we had negative growth, it'll highlight it red. So let's say, for instance, our sales dropped to 11 million. Whoops. Dropped to 11 million. We would have seen a 30% retraction in sales, and that would have been highlighted in red because red is a negatively symbolic color. So that's how you can use conditional formatting for different values within cells. You can also use it in situations where if, let's say, you had a list of ASINs, and let's say you had a bunch of them, and let's just add like 3. So we at least have 3 versions of the same ASIN in here. If you want to highlight and see which if there's any duplicate values within this list, you can come in and create a conditional formatting rule to highlight things that have duplicate values in red, and we'll hit OK. And we can see that the only 2 that we didn't copy paste down are these top 2 ASINs. From there, we could come in and highlight this. We'll go to data, and then let's remove those duplicates so that way we're able to only have a unique list of ASINs. And so that's what we've done here. Got it down to 228 ASINs. So there's a couple more tips for you with conditional formatting and how you can use it. Now for number 5, the concatenate formula. I mostly use this for campaign naming and ad group naming. To show you this, I'm going to pull up the campaign naming generator. And I built this to name all my campaign names just to keep it consistent. And the concatenate formula is really just what holds it all together. You can get a copy of it in the show notes below, so you can start naming your campaigns with it, keeping them all consistent and organized. Let me show you how it works. So here we are in the campaign naming generator. I'm not gonna go into how all this works in this video. Maybe I'll create a separate one for how this works. But essentially we have different values that stand for different things that we wanna include in our campaign name. And the concatenate formula is what we use to bring all of these different columns, all the values within each of these different cells, into one campaign name, one cohesive campaign name. And so that's what the column P is. So we have our full campaign name, and the concatenate formula can be found here. It looks like equal to concatenate, open parentheses, and from here, what we've done is gone through and selected each of the individual cells that we wanted to include in the campaign name. So going from left to right, we started with C2. So we clicked here, put a comma, and then we added a underscore as a separator. So in order to do the separators in between, you can do quotations and then add the separator, whether it's an underscore or a dash, whichever you prefer. And if you wanted to customize that as well, even further, like you can do spaces around these. So if you're more into that and you want to do dashes, you can do that as well and put dashes as separators. Some people like that. But besides that, all you have to do is go through and select each of the individual cells in the order that you want them to be grouped together and close the parentheses when you're done. And you're going to be left with a combined group of cells. To illustrate one more time, we'll do concatenate and we'll just combine tennis balls and we'll do this. And let's say we didn't add a separator. That's what it would look like. There's going to be no separation between the two cells that you've merged together. So if you want a space, we can do open parentheses, comma, and then create that space between the two cells. And within this separator, you can put whatever you want. So you can add words or however you want to do it. But that's how the concatenate formula works. Once you've made all your campaign names, perhaps you run into the issue where you want to pull out the ASIN from each campaign name so you can pivot out your data, or perhaps you just want to pull one of the identifiers in your campaign name out, but you don't want to use VLOOKUPs and you want to do it a quicker way. That brings us to number 6, which is text before and text after, and left and right functions. So we're back over here in our Excel sheet now. We're going to use the text before and text after first. So essentially what this function does is allows you to pull out text that is before a specific identifier or after an identifier. And in this case, we start it by using equal to text before. And let's say in this example, we want to pull all of the text that comes before EXP. So let's just pull this AGN tag out. So we're going to select that cell, do a comma, and then we'll do the text before is going to be, the delimiter is going to be open parentheses. We're going to define what we want to come, what we're trying to pull. So we're trying to pull AGN. So the delimiter that we're saying pull everything before is underscore EXP. So if we submit that, we're left with AGN. Now let's say we want to use text after to get the ASIN. We'll do text after, select the cell, comma, and in this case, we'll do open parentheses, tennis rackets, underscore. And then we have our ASIN. So you could use text before or text after. Unfortunately, this is only available in Excel as far as I know, and so you can't use this in Google Sheets, but perhaps you could use the left-right functions in this particular scenario. To do that, you would do left or right, whichever you're trying to do. So to start, we'll do right and we'll pull that ASIN. We'll select the cell that we want to pull from the right. And what you do after this is you tell it how many characters you want to pull starting from the right. So in this instance, we want to pull the ASIN. And so we want to pull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters from the right. And if we do 10, not 10, we're left with 9. So we have 9 on this one. So that's how you would use the right function. Now, let's say you wanted to do the same thing on the left. You could do left. Yeah, see, I got my ASIN examples wrong. There we go. Now we've got it. So we can do left 10. It's going to pull the 10 characters starting from the left. So that's how to use the left-right functions and the text before, text after functions. Now finally we arrive at number 7, and I actually think it was quite a few more than that. There's a lot more tips and tricks in there interlaced into all of those, but this one's going to be a little different. It's a wild one. It's a rapid fire round. I'm going to give you my 5 favorite shortcuts and tools within Excel that I use on a regular basis. Here we go. Number 1, quickly being able to jump from different places in an Excel sheet. You're going to be able to jump around your Excel sheet up and down, left and right, all over the place by hitting Command or Control on a PC, and you can hit an arrow key. And what that's going to do is just take you from wherever you are to the next gap. So the next gap would be the end of this row, and that's where it's going to take you. If we want to go all the way down, we can go all the way down. Boom, right down to the corner. And if we ever need to jump back to the top, there we go. So that's a quick tip for you. And if we ever need to jump back to the top, there we go. Number 2, selecting an entire row. So what you're going to do with this one is hold Command, Shift, and then hit an arrow key. In this case, we'll go right, and we'll select an entire row. If we want to select an entire column, we do the same thing, Command, Shift, or Control, Shift, down. Select the entire column. Makes it very easy to copy, paste full rows and full columns. Number 3, creating filters. This one is a shortcut. So you can quickly create a filter on any group of data, on any table, by holding Command, Shift, and hitting F on a Mac, or you do Control, Shift, L on a PC, and that'll quickly create a filter at the top of the row. So I believe if you do it on the wrong row, nope, it does it still. We're good. So that's your shortcut for creating a filter really fast. You can also jump here, do it here, or in the Home tab, you can do it here. This makes finding and sorting all your data to find exactly what you're looking for a lot easier. Number 4, freeze panes. I love this one when I'm working with a very large table, and as I'm scrolling down, I forget what column is what, and I can't see. I have to scroll all the way back up to get the headers. So what you can do instead, come over here, highlight this top row, hit View, freeze top row, and now, boom. That header is sticky, and no matter how far you scroll down, you can always see what column is what. Number 5, Format Painter. If you ever have a particular type of formatting on one column or one cell that you want to paste onto another one to have it have the same formatting, you can select all of an area. In this case, we have a color scale, and we want to format that. Let's say we want to add it to our total product sales column. So come back to the top here, and boom. There we go. We added the format. But in this case, you can see it actually copied all of the formatting, and instead of leaving it as $signs, it changed it to a number. So I'll have to switch that back. And that is it. Start using these in your day-to-day Amazon PPC Excel tasks, and let me know which one was your favorite in the comments. If you like this kind of content, be sure to check out that Amazon Ads Masterclass, where we go in depth and teach you the ins and outs of Amazon PPC so you can have a successful career and make a bunch of money living a free and remote lifestyle. To learn more about that, check the description in the link below for more information. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe to catch all the new episodes of that Amazon Ads podcast every single week. I will see you next time.